What up? Just walking over here thinking about what topic I wanted to talk about. Not topic, but like jumping off point, prompt, whatever. I find that's often, even with journaling, that's kind of how I go. I kind of like jump off with something and it kind of just gets my brain going. There was this awesome comment about somatics, or like the somatic practices I do, or things that have really helped me. I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about loving unconditionally and feeling enough safety to love unconditionally. So, somatic work, what does that mean? I'm not going to give you the doctor definition, okay? Like, for me, it's work in relation to your body. It's really chilly out. So, identifying emotions in your body, identifying feelings, where they arise, identifying points of sensitivity or trauma, or just having a relationship with your own body. People who've experienced childhood trauma or have CPTSD, a common thing that's encouraged to explore is your relationship to your own body, things you might have not understood, like lessons that might have not been imparted on you, how to soothe yourself, how to identify those feelings, and also how to have care with them when they arise. For me, feelings in my body were a point of weakness, they were a point of fear, they were a point of concern. So I got really good at identifying them, like an assessment, assessing them. But I didn't really know how to sit with them, how to soothe them, how to care for them. I could just identify it. I have a pain in my chest, and I know it's there, and I can see it. You know, I can feel it. I can feel it in such a clear way. Only when I started working with a somatically trained therapist would they have me sit with that and say, where is the pain? Can you sit with it? What does it look like? What shape is it? Can you visualize it? Can you go inside your body and think of what it looks like? Do you know where it starts and where it stops? Curiosity, right? And I went to a somatic therapist because I felt like I was really good at talking myself in circles, and I felt myself starting to want the therapist to like me, or that I would do a good job in therapy. A lot of the time I found myself rehearsing or presenting my traumas in a way that was intellectualized. I could think through all the steps, and my therapist would be like, that's amazing, you're doing so much good work, whatever, but I'd feel fucking miserable. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that feeling of a therapist saying you're doing a good job and you appreciating the praise, but like feeling miserable, right? That's what I was feeling. When a somatic therapist is like, damn, you're doing a really good job, I'm like, fuck, this is hard and I appreciate it. Because I don't like sitting with those things, or I didn't. Let's not say I don't. I didn't like sitting with those things because they would often mean a huge amount of uncomfortableness. So I was really good at burying them down, masking, hiding, soothing temporarily. Phone use. Even things like breath work, which are immensely positive, became these tools for controlling my emotions, controlling my feelings, controlling my sense in the body. Which is not kind to myself, right? Like that gentleness, that care, that creates self-love. I was like, if these things go away, then I have the capacity to love myself. No, sitting with those things, it builds you the capacity to love yourself, right? So somatically trained therapists, immensely helpful. If you can't find one, you can always go online. I find in person's incredible because you pick up so much more. Yoga has been immensely helpful for me. getting in tune with my body, learning to turn my brain off and get into my body. You can't progress unless you have good like brain body connection. You hit a limit. Same with weightlifting, same with whatever. Dance. It wasn't that I hated dancing before. I always felt so awkward, or that I wasn't doing it right, or that I was, that I was being judged for that. Oh my God! Once I started to kind of come into my body, the dancing isn't about anybody else. It's about you. It's about yourself. It's about expressing yourself how you need to be expressed. There's a incredible TikTok about like you can dance about something instead of think about something. You can go dance and let your body kind of like move through it. I've had cries in the rave. I've cried in the rave dancing, right? Like, because it's brought up so much stuff, and that can be intense. But it can also be like immensely gratifying. You can be a dance alone in your room. It can be yeah, it can be anything. But I found raves really nice because I knew the people were being really kind and not judgmental. Going to dance in the club, I feel like there's a lot of like hostile energy in the club, let's say. What other things? Breath work. Breath work was one of the ones I mentioned that I utilized, and I think I would consider a negative way. A very stiff way. I won't go down the Wim Hof rabbit hole. I started my breathwork journey by practicing the Wim Hof method. I don't like doing it anymore. I don't like getting myself into such a riled up state before going in the cold or whatever it is. I felt like I was basically like mimicking an anxiety attack. And while I really enjoy that with cold plunges, where I feel like it spikes and you learn to basically self-soothe, I didn't like it with breath work because I felt like the self-soothing part wasn't there. The letting your breath go and like I'm going down to the tangent on it, but like personally, it wasn't for me. I found the slower modalities of breath work, things like slower box breathing, learning how to exhale longer than you inhale, really getting the length of the breath and getting it long and relaxed and in a very chill state. Oh my God. So powerful, so powerful. The fast breath work is very powerful too. I'm not going to discredit it. It's just for the way it impacts my body. I just know it's a thing that isn't really connecting for me right now. So breath work, but slow breath work has really been nice for me. Apps like the Insight Timer, because it's a free one, I feel like they're going to turn it into like a fucking SaaS thing soon. But I'm going to put my gloves on. Yeah. Not Headspace, not any of that shit. Not the ones where they're trying to sell you like a fucking subscription. Insight Timer is really good. Set a 10-minute timer is really good. YouTube guided videos are really good. Right. Meditation, which I think ties into the breath work. Meditation in a lot of different forms. As someone who has been diagnosed with ADHD, breath works that are kind of tailored, or a meditation that's kind of tailored around something that can occupy my mind. For example, mantra-based meditation I found to be much more meaningful than mindfulness meditation when I was starting. I think I'm at a point now where I can observe my thoughts to an extent. It's not something that I'm like, I'm not going to claim to be some expert at it, but me, undiagnosed with ADHD, doing mindfulness meditation, so I'm sitting on the floor and thinking about every thought, it just made me more miserable, right? But mantra-based meditation, or ones where you repeat a phrase, I found so helpful because the vibration in my body when I'm doing like, that like hum in your body, or repeating a phrase, or and then you get to start playing with that. You get to see how long you can hold different letters of it. Like, I found that part really fun. And then I found myself accidentally becoming very still within my body. Yeah. On that note, music, gongs, vibration of speakers in my body. So again, going dancing with big loud bass, thumping music. That impact on my body personally is just immensely calming. It could be the bowls, it could be drums, it could be whatever. Yeah, the vibration in my body, I can feel it. I don't know how much you can access that through day-to-day life. I know that one's more just like a general statement. But yeah, like things like sound baths or audio played at a certain frequency. I may actually, you know what? That's a good segue into that one, and maybe that's the actionable thing from that, at least for me. There's a person coming with their dog, so I'm gonna reground here. I just saw it and I kind of panicked. Okay, so binaural audio, meditation audio, frequency audio. I was very, I'd say, skeptical or embarrassed to talk about it at first because it really felt like very self-helpy, very pseudo-spiritual, techno-spiritual, or whatever you want to call it, like spirituality to like extract something, like it felt very startup, very like startup foundery, if that makes sense. But as I like sat with it, I was finding it like really relaxing. That person seemed nice. Anyway. Yeah. So it was like Brain FM was one of the software I used. I think it plays two frequencies in two different ears, and then it basically like tunes your brain to it or something like that into like a relaxed state. I find those really helpful, especially when trying to stay focused and not getting too anxious. Because sometimes when I'm working, I start to build myself into a somatically unsafe point. Also, when I was giving the somatic definition, I feel like I totally glossed over the fact that it's the nervous system. I'm not a medical expert. I'm just talking about my own personal experience and how it's been explained to me. Yeah, like the nervous system is kind of that expression of the body, I guess. And understanding how trauma impacts it is certain parts shut down, certain parts become very sensitive in order to identify danger really quickly. So it's learning about your relationship with that, right? Like learning how to define your own, because all you have to do it. A doctor can sit there and assess you, but like if you can't give an accurate description of what's going on in there because you're not in tune with it, it can be really difficult to like give yourself what you need, right? Or like figure out how your body can recover or feel like your intuition can kind of lead you to something. Yeah, so sorry, still a bit riled up there. Okay. I think I've given enough examples. I was trying to be thorough, but you know what? Like, if it's not jumping out to me immediately, there are other things. I'm sure I'll remember them, but like, let's just leave it there for now. Maybe that was me, my own internal system signaling we should move on to the next topic. It's funny how that happens. Okay. Loving unconditionally. So I think I talked about it in the last video, but I've been reading a lot of Wikipedia articles, especially about emotions, feelings, high school or middle school concepts. Like think before you speak is the one I always give as an example. Is like I think I understood it intellectually, but I had never tried it. There are times where I think before I speak, right? I stop and I think. But oftentimes I'm just literally improving because I'm so shut down, because I'm so mild dissociative or like in a panicked state that I'm not thinking before I speak because I'm in pure survival mode. So I became like an so really good at improv, like bouncing ideas, whatever, but it leads to me getting insanely distracted. Like I jump from topic to topic to topic to topic and I don't really sit in it in a meaningful way. And thinking before I speak, I find helps reground me when I get too like amped up. Let me think about that for a second. Can I sit on that for a second? You know, like I find myself saying that a lot more. Like, let me sit on that for a second. Because I can feel myself not giving a wholly Evan answer. I'm giving an anxious Evan answer or a masked Evan answer, which is a version of Evan, yes, of course. But it's not the version I want to embody in that conversation, right? Okay, so one of the things I've been reading about is love. I know. I'm there. I'm at the point where I'm reading the Wikipedia article about love, and I'm saying it on video. Like, fuck it. I realized I think I was in such a anxious or distrusting state. I think I had a hard time loving unconditionally, because in moments of unconditional love, when you love unconditionally and your person taking care of you is not reciprocating it unconditionally, it can lead to a level of distrust, right? Sorry, this is quite real topic, so I'm thinking before I'm speaking a lot because I can feel myself soothing myself as I go through it. So I could feel that maybe I had lost touch with my ability to love unconditionally. Not that I've never done it. I don't know if I said that earlier, but I haven't. I've had trouble loving unconditionally. And when I realized that, I was really sad. Because that felt embarrassing. That felt inhuman. It felt like I wasn't human. Sun's coming out as I'm talking about this stuff. You cannot write this. You cannot write this better than this. So I was really sad about that. And instead of filing it away or putting it into a folder or intellectualizing it, I sat with that feeling. I cried. I had a few rough days mentally. I, spun out. But in a way that was like, I'm sad about this thing. I'm fucking sad about this thing and I need it. Not, I'm having a tough time mentally and not like being willing to explain it, even to myself. Just like, bad mental health day. Like what? Why? Why is it a bad mental health day? In myself. It's like I'm coming to my own care, I'm coming to my own rescue, which is a nice way to put it. And I was like, I'm sad about this, that I struggle to love unconditionally. And what does that mean for my ability to carry it forward or, whatever. But I sat with it, and I sat with it with a lot of care. I didn't make myself feel bad about that. I didn't shame myself for feeling that feeling. Shame or toxically positive, I guess. Like, something I've been obsessed about is the dramas, like the two masks, because I feel like something that's easy to identify is like the negative mask, the sad mask, the anxious mask, the scared mask. But you can also get like too happy and too excited, right? And that can rile you up into an anxious state. I've talked about that a lot. And it's like when I get to either of those points where the masks are on, it's like I can literally see what the masks are. Anyway, when I sat with it and didn't feel bad about feeling bad or try to smother it with positivity, I think what's something that emerged in my journaling was that to get to the deepest point of love with another person, to love unconditionally someone else, it does require you to be able to practice it within yourself, right? Like intra-love or like internal love. Your ability to love you as an identity and you as a person allows you to extend it to other people. Maybe. I don't know. For me, have this idea. Okay. That I can agree with. That I can sit with. I know that's true. I haven't had a lot of love for myself, and that's okay. I can tie it to reasons. I can but it's like, do I feel it right now? Yeah, like it's growing. I feel it. It's not an instant switch because nothing is. I think of it like when the Grinch's heart grew 10 sizes or whatever. It didn't. It grew 10 sizes. I know it was like really fast, but like it had to go like. It didn't just go like 0 to 1. It wasn't binary. It's like, you know? And I feel that happening in me in terms of my own self-love. I feel like it's growing every day. I'm kinder to myself. I find myself not saying negative things about myself. Like there are so many books about minimizing negative self-talk, right? And I agreed with it intellectually, but I was still letting so much of it in. I was shitting on myself and saying I'm a bad person or saying, oh, I'm such an idiot, whatever. I find myself cutting myself off more, like automatically, like in a way that I'm almost looking out for myself. I'm like, hey, don't say that. The same way if somebody called someone else an idiot, I'd be like, not cool. Don't fucking say that. Let's stop there for a second. You know, like socially being there. And feeling that love in its good and in its bad has allowed me to extend that to others in a way that is trusting in both the highs and the lows. And if I didn't sit with that sadness that I felt, that I wasn't loving unconditionally, if I just like sorted that away, I wouldn't get to this really deep insight and really deep like sense of knowing a thing that's happening. It's not even like I've unlocked a new thing I'm going to practice. It's like, what is this weird phenomenon? I'm like learning about myself as it exists, not prescribing routines to it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. What is the Evan doing right now? Oh, he's cutting himself off when he says a negative thing about himself. Oh, interesting. Like, where's that coming from? Like, instead of like, I need to say 5 positive things about myself each day. It's like, sure, but it's so prescriptive versus like letting that love blossom naturally, letting things emerge organically. Yeah, so that's a part of it. That's a part of loving unconditionally, or how I got to this point. And in terms of loving myself unconditionally, that's where I struggled. It was conditional. It was based on outcomes. It was based on things achieved, things gained, things earned, right? What does that look like in practice? Once I pay off all the credit card bills, I'm good. once I get this person to trust me, I'm good, because I would think they would not like me. Once I can feel that they really do like me, I'm good. Knowing that would never happen, because it's an unquenchable thirst from motivated by trauma to fawn, right? And to want to be liked. Not even want to be liked, not want to be disliked. Because it's funny, as I was saying want to be liked, it didn't actually feel right in my body, but I kept going with it. Yeah, I didn't want to be disliked. So it's like, once I could confirm that they don't hate me, that's a much better way to state it in terms of how it was put into practice. Once I could trust that maybe this person didn't want to destroy my guts, or maybe was distracted by somebody else before eventually wanting to, then I could rest easy. Once I bought a certain house or provided a certain lifestyle to the important people in my life, whether I remembered things more, healed from something, whatever, having that target makes your internal love conditional, and it makes the current state that you're in a state of not loving yourself, right? You can be in the shittiest position. You could be in the shittiest position and say, I have to get out of this position, and I see in 2 years how I can put myself in that position. But for those 2 years, I'm going to hate myself to get there. It's going to be really hard to get there, right? Wanting something becomes wanting it instantly. Instant gratification becomes the priority. It becomes binary. It's unconditional love, and it operates within a binary. There is no spectrum of love in that situation. You've assigned love to an end target, and oftentimes a very vague and ambiguous end target. You'll notice that very few people have an I made it moment ever in their life. They might have like one or two, like you walk out on the balcony and you're like, yo, I fucking made it, whatever. But even that's vapid and fading, because it's an unquenchable thirst. I've seen it. I'm old enough now to say I've seen it destroy people's lives, like legitimately. I've seen that hunger for a next thing before they can love themselves. The target always moves. The target always moves. You don't think it will. You'll think like, no, I'll live with modest means. I just want my modest means. But then you have a chip on your shoulder. Speaking from experience, I'm going to carve out my spot in the world. I'm going to keep my head low, do whatever, and then I'll love myself. And it's like, I passed that point, and I passed into like trying to live beyond my means, or like I passed it without even noticing that I had hit the thing I wanted to hit. I was making a modest income, but it was under my own terms. I set my own hours. I was kind to myself. I was able to pay off debt through hard work, and also like a lot of effort, despite really hating myself through it. That kid was fucking flailing to try to like hash it out in the world. And the point that I had like started with that like I can love myself thing, by the time I got to it, I had so forgotten about that I was trying to juggle too many clients and like trying to make it all work and never hiring anybody because I can do it myself, and like trying to be there for family and trying to be there for friends and trying to be there for everybody while also working these insane hours. I blew right by it, and I didn't even like sit with it, right? Like, how many times do people pass their milestones without even sitting with it? What am I trying to get at here? What am I trying to get at here? I heard a thing. I was sitting with this end target thing, and of course, as it often happens, some variation of like moving through the world, seeing things on screens, going on Instagram, whatever. Something will stick out to me that's almost like it feels like the solution for what I'm grappling with, and I really liked it. It was this question that was like, people consider like belief like something's going to happen, I believe something's going to happen. When they say like they believe in themselves, oftentimes when people are trying to like create belief in themselves, what they say is like, I will never fail. This will never fail. I know 100% for the fact it's going to work. That is not real. That's made up in your head. You can't know that. You can't know that. What you can know is that I can believe that this is the best plan for me right now. And I can also believe that if it doesn't work out, I can figure out another solution, right? Let's say I believe 60% this is going to work out, or this is our best bet, right? When we think of it like a gambling thing. 60% chance of success in this thing, let's say. I believe in that, and I believe in myself to execute on it and to be that and whatever. And the 40% chance it doesn't work out, that's the next thing to solve, right? Like, that's the decision. It either works or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, I also believe it will work. That is at least for me, that's the thing that made it click. You're not 100% believing that the thing you're going to do is going to work. You're 100% believing in yourself. That like, as long as I wake up in the morning, and as long as I can continue to exist, and as long as that is there, like, you already won. You already made it. You've got it, right? Like, it's not going to look how it looks, because that's like saying I want something and I'm going to go get it is very different than feeling, right? When they're like, feel like you've already had it, feel like you already have it. I was like, oh, wow, okay, so just pretend that I'm feeling it. But it's like, if there are certain things in my life that I want to go after, right? Like paying off credit card debt, or feeling better about my body, like having a more loving relationship with my body, having a more loving relationship with my voice, honoring my career and like the skills I've developed, and build a meaningful career that is more about the work produced and the meaningfulness of the work produced than the capital gained. I want to do something I'm proud of, right? Okay. What's the feeling? Proud. When have I felt proud? This time, that time. When have I felt proud of myself? Not many times. So let me think about things that I've done that make me feel proud. Cutting myself off when I say something negative makes me feel proud. Setting boundaries makes me feel proud. I know how difficult those things are to do for me. I know that the neural pathways are like changing. I feel them. My body has this immense power to heal itself, and I feel it happening. I feel it like repairing things. And every time that happens, I feel immensely proud of that Evan, right? Like, I'm like, I couldn't have gotten there. I couldn't have done that alone with just the brain, but it's like the brain and the body. I'm proud of my body for doing things. I'm also proud of my brain for thinking of ingenious solutions to things, for being very good at improv, right? Then I sit with that feeling and I think, like, where are areas in my life that it's not happening? Okay, it's work. So let me just bring that proud energy to my work, and the things that I go, ugh, we start creating the solution. Like for me, something that I think I found a lot of pride in, and now I feel a lot of not guilt or shame, but just like a desire. I feel a desire now. Is I had a huge chip on my shoulder that I struggled with education. So therefore, I'm going to hash out a reality for myself with no education. Right? I had a hard time in school. Had a bad relationship with school and learning. Okay. Do I still agree with that? No. I want to go to school. I want to learn things. I'm learning things every single day. I'm craving knowledge. What actually was the truth is that I was so disassociated through my childhood that I wasn't learning anything, or I was learning less. I was learning 40% of what I should have been learning. And I know this is true because I remember chunks of things, not ever the lesson. I can remember the concept of Frankenstein, green bolts, Mary Shelley, wife wrote it, the guy took credit, I think. Okay, well, that's great. That's the fucking, like, Jeopardy. Not even Jeopardy. That would be even more detailed. I love Jeopardy. It would be like the dictionary definition. I didn't understand the Wikipedia definition. Not even to get to the original source, but like the themes of the book. The lessons that were taught, or the things that stuck out and made me self-reflect. I wasn't doing that. I was in survival mode, and I was processing things externally. Do people like me? Will this get me closer to will this put a target on my back? If not, how do I go in that direction? How do I minimize the attention towards myself? I was so in my own head. I wasn't taking in new detailed information. I find myself wanting to do that now. I used to not be able to watch movies. I used to not be able to watch TV. I could get themes, and sometimes I would have these huge breakthrough cries or whatever, you know, like it seeps through. It's not 100% off again, like we're talking binaries. My relationship with learning was really skewed by my challenging childhood. And that made me really sad, because it's like this core pillar of my identity being like independent, or like hashed it out on my own with nobody's help. That's not true. I ask for help all the time. And if anything, my over need for independence and a lack of trust in others led to a lot less growth than I had hoped, right? And my freelance career, I can wholly admit, ended in failure. I had to get a job. I wasn't getting clients. I didn't feel like my skills were developing. I wasn't becoming an expert. I had just existed. I was just living, right? And that's great. And I think I've developed a really good ability to learn from example and learn from trial and error. What I used to call bashing my head into a wall, which was said with a lot of hate towards myself. I see it now more as like practical knowledge. And that's the funny part about it, is I was trying to apply intellectual knowledge when I should have been applying practical knowledge, right? Like, I learn really well on a job. I learn in the act of doing it, working towards a solution, breaking things down into super actionable chunks. What is the action in front of me? I want to understand enough of the big picture that I get why I'm moving towards that goal, because if I'm just like, plug it in, don't think about the end goal, I can't do that either. Again, learning how I learn. I never learned how to learn or what my learning style was. I remember people being like, there's this one and that one and this one and that one. And then all I took away from that, I literally remember it. It was grade 4 or 5. They're teaching you about how you learn, or what's your preference of learning. And I remember being like, well, I liked the hands one at the time. I was like, I like the hands one. I like figuring out how to build a tower by building the tower, because the stakes are low. And through enough small experience, you build up the skills to do bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then also by having a problem, like for example, trying to figure out how to make a song in FL Studio or whatever, Okay, let me just start with the drums. Okay, how do I get a kick? Where is the kick? How do I open a folder? Like, then I learn how to do that. If I just like opened a book and tried to read every section, I wouldn't be able to do it. I need the practical stuff to sit with me, for me personally. But I remember explaining it to my teacher, and they were like, okay, well, yeah, like, we can't tailor the class. This is maybe something you should talk to your parents about. Maybe they can help you do your homework that way. And I was like, oh, okay, so school isn't my learning style, so whatever. Like, I didn't really think about it. It wasn't like something where I was like, I guess I'm never going to learn again. But I think in that moment, I learned, I was supposed to learn something that maybe like this goes beyond my immediate classroom. And I was like, maybe this is something I could like take for the rest of my life. Or even just like it would come up at like 18 or something and be like, wait, I can use my hands, da-da-da-da. Like, I just basically tried to cosplay as like someone who was thinking with 100%, you know? Like, I was trying to pretend to be something I wasn't. And I got a job. I got a marketing job, and I worked there, and I've learned so much. I've also learned that I don't really like marketing when put into practice, not done in my weird way. I love communications. That's what I love. I love communication. Marketing is one avenue of it, but like, I went to school for communication, mostly to try to get a business degree, but I accidentally learned that I loved communication. I loved the theory. I would gobble up the theory. I would think of situations where the theory applied. I'd be like, oh my God, a panopticon. That's what social media is. Me having the least original thought of all time in like whatever year that was. A panopticon being the guard tower, like all the walls, like all the prisoners are in the walls, and then the guard tower's in the middle, but then the prisoners can't see the person in the tower, but they know they're always being watched, potentially. So then they start to police their own behavior, thinking that they're being watched at all times. In reality, there could be no one in that tower, or someone could not be looking at them when they're doing the bad thing, but they end up policing themselves. And I was like, oh, that's social media, you know, like the invisible pressures of whatever, da-da-da-da-da. When the hell do I talk like that? I was so into it. But I was even looking at that through like a business lens. How do I make money off of this? Why does that need to be the thing? And I finished the degree. Thank fucking God I finished the degree. I'm really glad I did. I don't really know if I would have dropped out. I can't even pretend that I would have. But I became so obsessed with writing papers that I stopped learning. Again. Like writing like to get paid, like freelancing. Because I felt like my skill was like ahead. No. I felt like my skill was ahead of the class. I'll admit it. I'll be open about that. So I started getting bored, and then I started looking how to make money off of it, because I was told that was the way to do things, right? Like, that's what you got to do next. You got to pay off the student loans. It's coming up. So then I started doing freelance essay writing for students. Didn't really realize it. I thought I was doing it as like writing blog articles. But I don't know. It's the way the agencies frame it, and also the way that I think once I started to figure it out, I just wanted to do it less, because I was just like, oh, this is gonna come back to me somehow, and this is not gonna be good. I would do research on topics. I would put them together into clear and concise documents, and I'd write it, and figuring out that world was really fun until I had figured it out, right? Like I felt like I was getting, it wasn't that everything worked perfectly and there was $1 million coming in, but it's like I was getting clients. I even had a terrible situation where I wrote like 10 articles for this guy, and he'd say he paid me through PayPal, and then he ghosted me, right? Like, he's like, oh, if I pay you through PayPal, there won't be any fees, and don't worry, like, it's all good, da-da-da-da. I add him on PayPal. I'm like, okay, when's the thing coming? I write all these articles. I'm like, guys, I'm so fucking rich. This guy's paying me out the wazoo for these shit articles. This is crazy. I can't write them fast enough. I was in every class writing articles for this guy. I tried to follow up like online, like once I saw them got published. But they didn't give a fuck. Whatever. It's long gone at that point. There's no way you can recover from that. And I had to learn that lesson, right? And then I knew that if I'm going to go through a platform like that, let's save the headache, or have them sign a contract, or have them give 25% up front, right? And off marketplace apps, you'd have to charge extra, right? Once I had learned that, I think I had started to learn about marketing. Like, I was still led by this anxiety that like I needed to do business to be worth something. I needed to like start a business, or like start a software company or something. And I learned about SEO and did digital marketing and all these different things. And again, I learned so much, and I love learning about that world, because it controls a lot of what we consume, right? Like how an algorithm displays videos on your feed. A lot of companies want to know that so they can put their product in front of it, right? But like by understanding that, you accidentally learn how the systems work, how the algorithms work, how they influence our behavior, how they like negative content, how they scan everything to like learn what you like. They show bad things, the things that they know you won't like when you've used the phone the most, because they know that the longer they can stretch out that next dopamine hit, it's going to hit harder. When you finally see a good video, then you're going to be happy. When you open it first thing in the morning, they show amazing videos that are super relevant to you, because they want to get you on that hook the first thing you wake up. Like, think of how crazy that is. And the reason I had to learn that was because it's like, okay, like maybe the views are down, or like how do we show up on the algorithm? Are we going to be on the positive side of the algorithm or the negative side of the algorithm? How do we make sure that when someone's in that happiest mood, they show up on the thing? It makes you feel kind of fucked up, honestly, because you're basically like sub-profiteering off of a terrible system. It didn't make me feel very good. It felt like a necessary thing I had to do, but like because I was doing it as a job. And at a certain point, I had been so deep in it that I'm like, I know nothing else. What else could I do? So I got a marketing job at a company. And then I realized, like, I think I'm really good at it. I think I care about it a lot. Especially if it's a company or a nonprofit or an organization that I really believe in. Of course they should get seen. Of course I want people to care about them. But it does require you to operate within a system that, like, I don't know. I didn't have the capacity to think about the system. I was thinking about the fact that I'll only be worth it once I've paid off this, and this. Anyway, it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew, and I took on more clients, and then I got an office, and then I was like, oh my God, this is it, whatever. And I immediately just kept setting the ante higher and higher and higher until I completely burned out. And I burned out and I couldn't work anymore, and I destroyed all my client relationships, because all of my client relationships were built on knowing me. And if I ghost out of nowhere because I physically can't get out of bed because I've burnt myself out to complete exhaustion, collapsing in a parking lot exhaustion, yeah, it ruined everything. I had to close everything. There's still some stuff years later that I still have to figure out. And that's okay. It hurt. I felt like it was a huge, gigantic failure. And you're being told failure's good, failure keeps you moving forward, failure da 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 da. Once again, I heard it, went in my ear, I got it as a concept, but this was a failure staring me in the face, and I couldn't take it. I couldn't accept it. So I had to figure out a different thing. Oh no, I'm just taking a break. I'm working at a company to take a break, whatever. I worked at a company because I physically couldn't do freelance work anymore. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. So when I want to be proud in the work that I do, that's all the shit that comes up. That's all the shit that comes up that I get to an endpoint and I'm like, wow, okay, like I know in a way that has like interrogated my fucking soul of what I need to do. I don't know the exact way that plays out. Does that mean I do freelance article writing? Do I do this? Do that? Blah 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 blah. I don't know how it's gonna look, but I know that my gut just learned something, and my gut is going to take that lesson forward. It won't always. Who knows? You know, you might lose sight of the mission, and that's why it's important to check in with yourself, I think, and have these moments. Getting really cold. But I just trust myself to like kind of bring it into fruition, I guess. I don't know. It makes the process feel like one of literally all you have to do is love and trust yourself. If I love myself, then if I don't feel proud about the work that I do, I'm going to be caring and listen to that inner kid and listen to that inner teen and listen to myself and be like, why are you not proud of the work that you're doing? Because of this. Oh, that's interesting. Have you considered doing this? And then trusting myself that like, even if that doesn't work out perfectly, I can figure out another thing. And those failures, if the 60% doesn't work, I learn why it might not have been 60%. I learn why the odds might have not been in my favor. I learn a thing about my own boundaries. Maybe it works out and I don't like it that much. Have I considered that? Like, there's been so many times where I would do a co-op job, which is like in university where they like put you like on a job placement for 4 months. I thought it would be like the job of my life and that I need to stay with it out of university. I would go there and I'd hate it 3 months in. I'd hate it 3 days in, honestly. That was me learning. That's what people talk about relationships. That's what people talk about friendships. When something doesn't work out, what you've learned is the things that made it not work out and what you can bring to the next thing, right? Lessons, stack on top of lessons, stack on top of lessons, and they create a gut that is both trained from experience, but also trained from other people's stories about life, about fiction. It's made me want to watch more movies. Like, so my life's getting better in countless ways, and I'm also not associating with the end result. By interrogating why I might not be proud of my work, my present moment is full of love. It's not conditional on having a job that I'm proud of. When that gets there, it will be a byproduct of the fact that all these other sub-identities have changed, right? And to try to force yourself or try to contort or control or to see it as an enemy or to see it as a foe that needs to be vanquished. No, it's like it's your fucking partner. Your brain is your partner, your body is your partner. You're all working together in this one like unit. And one of them can fuck up, or you can be annoyed at one of them or be angry at one of them, but you can't hate them. You got to trust them. You got to trust that they're doing what's best for you. And if they're not, then you can communicate that and express that. If you're eating things you don't want to eat, or eating past a point of feeling full. I do that all the time. I've had a very negative understanding of eating. That's a separate topic. Save that for later. I love you guys. I love all of anybody that is interested in these. If you want to shoot me a message in the comments, I'd be happy to talk about it. Yeah. Rooting for you guys. See ya.